Welcome to Comics Crusade. This is your host, Speedway here, and today we're going to take a look at Marvel's Moon Knight. Released in 2021, Moon Knight is an ongoing superhero comic released by Marvel Comics starring the title character Moon Knight. Still currently ongoing. We are currently on issue 10 with new issues coming each and every month. I have here all current issues except issue 8. So unfortunately I cannot comment on the quality of that issue. But what I can say though is that if you're tired of woke political garbage infesting your American comic books, then I got good news for you. Because for all these issues right here, I can guarantee you, zero political propaganda is present. No virtue signaling, no political messaging being shoved down your throat, just good superhero fun. All you have to look forward to is good writing, good art, well drawn super action. So, if that sounds exciting, you should give this a chance. Now, before I begin, some people might be wondering, just how much about Moon Knight do you need to know in order to enjoy the series? Well, as someone who read this series without knowing anything about Moon Knight, I can guarantee you that this comic is quite newcomer friendly. After reading just the first trade, which is 6 issues, the first 6 issues, I left feeling that I had all the information about the character I needed that was presented in these issues, and I had no need to go back to older comics and read them in order to fill in gaps. So I consider this a great jumping point. Now, if you're coming here from the Moon Knight Disney Plus show, it might be a little confusing to get on this comic because the Disney Plus show for Moon Knight is at the beginning, the origin of this character. While this comic takes place decades upon decades after so many comic book stories were told with this character. So if you go from the show to this comic, there's like this huge gap of stories you missed out that's kind of hard to fill in the gaps, but that should not deter you from checking out this book. Now, to begin with the actual quality of this book, we'll first look at the art. Now, all these issues that I have right here, except issue 7, are drawn by one artist, which we'll take a look at right here. So the artist in question for most of these issues is an artist named Alessandro Cappuccio. Sorry if I butchered that name. Anyway, let's take a look at their work. Now, as you can see, hopefully the camera's picking up, the art is quite beautiful. It has a dark, eerie sense to it that really adds to the style of writing for the character, and it greatly enhances and complements the story. I'm trying not to flip through anything that's too spoilery, so I'm going to skip to issue 9, where we'll just take a look at the beginning. And even with just a few pages showing off the artwork, you can tell you're in for quite a visual treat. So by the art alone, it's quite an enjoyable experience. Now, as for the one issue out of here that's not drawn by this artist, Cappuccio, sorry if I butchered the name again, we have issue 7, which art duties are fulfilled by Federico Sabatini. I also apologize if I butchered that name. Now, if you take a look at the work, the style is noticeably different, but still trying to mimic the same look and feel as the other issues. There are a lot of minor detail changes that really show it as a different artist, but even so, it is still quite competently drawn, and is still a visual treat to look at. So even with the artist change, you'll still enjoy the visual experience of reading it. Now, that's for the art. So if you like what you saw, know that you'll enjoy that quality across all these issues. And as for the plot of the comic itself, I'll begin with the basic premise. Now, this won't be a super in-depth spoiler-filled review. This will just be a general overview, hoping to give you an idea, as I don't want to spoil anything, as you really should pick this up for yourself and enjoy all the surprises it has in store for you. So, to begin with the basic premise, we basically have Moon Knight basically has like set up a little office in a neighborhood where he's like, "Hey, I'm Moon Knight. What are your problems?" And so basically, civilians will come to Moon Knight talking about criminals or some mystical stuff that's going down, and Moon Knight just goes in and basically just punches the problem away. Now, here, for example, in this opening issue, Moon Knight is tracking down some vampires who are trafficking humans and just takes care of them. Also note, Moon Knight does kill, unlike most superheroes. Just a heads up. And another example of a plot that happens, we'll jump to issue 9 to avoid the ongoing plot threads that go on. In issue 9, Moon Knight basically has to infiltrate a possessed building that's alive. And it's quite a fun ride, but I won't spoil it here. But as you can see, it's not typical thieves and criminals he's going up against. It's more of on the mystical side of the Marvel Universe. Now, besides that basic summary of premise, the plot is more complicated than that, as Moon Knight is facing against new villains, new threats, overcoming new conspiracies and obstacles against him with twists, turns, surprises that make it a really fun and unique and interesting ride. What I just call good superhero fun. Now, as for the internal conflict with Moon Knight's character himself, I'm going to try to avoid flipping to a spoiler here. There are these scenes sprinkled out through several of the issues where Moon Knight is talking to a therapist, which Moon Knight is forced to see as ordered by the Avengers, as Moon Knight is not a mentally well person or being. And through these scenes you get sprinkled out, you get a dissection of Moon Knight as a person, his motivation. You try to figure out what his motivations, his belief, why he does what he does is, and it's an interesting look at deconstructing the character that adds more complexity and multidimensionalism to his actions, making him a more unique and interesting character than he may appear. Now, all that character development isn't just restricted to these therapy sessions, but it's also this also flows out through the rest of what happens in the series. So you have great character, development moments with Moon Knight throughout the series, along with some great crime-fighting plots. So with those two combined, you have, I would say, an excellent superhero comic to read. So if any of that sounded interesting to you, then I highly recommend you give this a chance, especially if you're tired of woke political garbage polluting American comic books these days. This is a nice break from all that. So, as I said, this series is still ongoing, so you can just pick up the latest issue at your local comic book shop if it's not on the rack, or ask them to special order it for you if you want to play catch up. This first 6 issues are in this trade, the current only one that's out right now. You can find this at comic book shops, at Barnes & Noble in the American comic book section, or you can order it off Amazon. Or if you want digital copies, I recommend the Marvel Comics app, not Comixology, as that app is a mess right now. So Marvel Comics app for tablets and smartphones. So again, if you found this interesting, Highly recommend it. Hopefully you enjoy it. And that concludes today's review. Hope you had a good time. Until next time.